Do you all ever wonder what in the world are you going to do with your pound of ground beef? Well, look no further. Today I have 4 delicious meals that you can make for you and your family. They're not very hard, they're really easy to put together, and they are absolutely delicious. Grab your beef and let's get cooking. To start us off, we're going to be making these cheeseburger sliders. So you're going to need 1 onion, and you're just going to dice this up as fine as you can. I do recommend going really fine if you can. I have little kids and they don't always like to taste the onions in it, and this does call for quite a bit of onion, so you really want to make sure that that's nice and fine. And then to your skillet, you're just going to ground up a pound of ground beef, and you are just going to make sure it's nice and cooked through. While that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and get started on some seasonings. We want to flavor this up as much as possible. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of cumin, a half a teaspoon of dried mustard, and then a half a teaspoon of paprika. And then I'm just going to give this a really good stir and get all those seasonings well combined. And I'm not sure it would be one of my meals if I didn't add in any garlic. Garlic just adds so much flavor to it. So I'm going to add in about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. And then I have these jalapenos that I'm going to use. I have some fresh jalapenos right out of my garden that I need to use up before they go bad. So I'm going to put in some jalapenos just to give it a little more flavor, and then I'm going to add my onions that we had chopped up, and I'm just going to mix this through and just kind of make sure my onions are getting cooked down and nice and tender. I also wanted to add that my onions are going to soak up all of the grease that I have from the beef, so I really don't need to drain anything. Once I am done making sure that everything is cooked through, I'm going to add in 1 can of Rotels, or you can add in, I just have like a generic brand, and I'm going to give that a good stir and just want to cook that until all the juices from the tomatoes are getting cooked down. And then to another saucepan, we are going to get started on our sauce that we're going to put over our sliders. So I have 1 stick of butter that I'm going to put in. I'm just going to put that in and let it melt. And then I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard or regular mustard. And then I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of whatsoever sauce. And then I'm going to put in some brown sugar. This is just going to give it just a little bit of some sweetness to it. You don't have to if you don't like the extra sweetness. I do add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and I'm just kind of cook that butter down and give everything a good stir, and it will thicken up quite a bit once you keep stirring. And now I'm going to get started on my rolls. So you're going to need 12 dinner rolls. I just have this Hawaiian bread rolls that I got on sale at Walmart that I'm going to use up here. So I'm just going to cut these all in half, and I'm just going to put this in this 9x13 pan. You can put it in whatever type of pan that works for you. I just thought that this would work best since maybe these could get a little bit messy. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to lay these out as best as I can, and then I'm going to put my cheeseburger mixture on top of that. Once my ground beef mixture is completely cooked through and the onions are completely tender, I'm just going to go ahead and add it on top of these rolls here, and I'm just going to smooth this out, give it a nice even layer, and then I'm going to put some cheddar cheese on top of it. I do just go ahead and use this whole package of cheddar cheese. I think that there is 11 slices here. I really only need about 9 slices, but I'm just going to go ahead and use it all up, and I'm going to make it nice and extra cheesy. I've done many variations of this type of meal where I do the sliders, but this was a first for making these cheeseburger sliders, and they were so delicious. So I really hope that you guys end up trying this meal. They tasted just like regular cheeseburgers, except for they're more like sloppy joes in a way, but they were like sweet, and so I'm really excited for you guys to try this. Next, you're gonna grab your sauce and you're just gonna put this all over your cheeseburger sliders. Sesame seeds or poppy seeds would be really great to put on top of this, and you're just gonna bake this in your oven at 350 degrees for about 15 minutes until it's nice and golden brown on top and everything's cooked through. And this is really good. You can have this with some baked beans, some fries, some mac and cheese. We ended up having this with some tater tots and mac and cheese, and everybody in my family really enjoyed it. It was just a different alternative than having regular cheeseburgers. This is a meal that you can have over and over again. It only took about 30 minutes to make, from the time you started the ground beef to the time that you took it out of the oven, and you can put so many different things in this to make it even better. The next meal I'm going to be making is a homemade version of cheeseburger hamburger helper. So to my medium pan, I'm going to ground up 1 pound of hamburger beef. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting that nice and cooked through. And then while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 tablespoon of garlic, or you can put in 1 clove of garlic and give that a good stir. And then I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of flour just to kind of thicken up our mixture here, and give that another good stir. And then we're going to put in 2 cups of beef broth, and if you don't have beef broth, chicken broth or vegetable broth is going to work just fine. And then we're just going to let that simmer on the stovetop, maybe about 10 minutes, just to get it a little bit thicker. And then I'm going to add in 1 can of tomato sauce, just an 8-ounce can. And then I'm going to add in our pasta shells. So you don't want these to be pre-cooked. You want 2 cups of elbow macaroni. And then we're going to add in all of our seasonings. So you have 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, 1 teaspoon of seasoned salt, a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and then we're just going to give that a really good stir, and we're just going to let that simmer on the stovetop for about 10 to 15 minutes. You just want those elbow macaroni noodles just to thicken up a bit, and I am just going to give this a good stir after about 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm just going to kind of test out the noodles just to see how cooked they are. And they're not quite done, but it does seem to need just a little bit of water, so I added about a half a cup of water, and then I'm going to let this cook for about another 5 minutes, just until the noodles are thick. And I'm going to give it another good stir, and just kind of testing out the noodles as I'm going through, and they do seem done here. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my heavy whipping cream. You can either add in heavy whipping cream or half and half, whatever you want to do, but it's a half a cup of heavy whipping cream. And then I am going to give that a good stir just to kind of thicken up that sauce and make sure it's to my liking. And then I'm going to add in 2 cups of cheddar cheese. I had, I think, about a cup of cheddar cheese left, and then I just used another cup of like some Fiesta blend. So it's whatever type of cheese that you prefer to use. I think cheddar cheese would be best in this meal. And then I'm going to just stir it all through, make sure everything is nice and creamy. And that is it for this meal. That's all that you need. I did serve this up with a vegetable, and I think we had like some bread on the side as well, just some plain buttered bread. I think we had peas. This would be really good with green beans or corn. My kids prefer corn, but who doesn't? Corn is so delicious. But I did pair this with some peas. I actually really enjoy peas. My family does not, though. This was such a better alternative to having regular boring boxed hamburger helper. Next, I'm going to be making this famous Doritos Casserole. So to my pan, I'm going to just ground up a pound of ground beef here. And you can add onions to this. I didn't, just because my kids really don't prefer onions, and it was just me and my kids eating this meal. So I'm just grounding this up, and then I'm going to drain off all of the excess grease to it. If you're not using one of these collapsible strainers, they are so handy and so helpful. I have a really tiny kitchen, so it comes in handy when I'm trying to put all of my containers and stuff away. And if you want to know where I get this strainer, I will leave a link in the description box. But to my pan, I'm just going to go ahead and put back my ground beef, and I'm going to put in some garlic with it. I put in probably 1 clove of garlic just to give it a little bit of some flavor. And then I'm going to add in a whole 12-ounce bag of corn here, 1 can of Rotels, And then you're gonna put in some taco seasoning. I don't really use packets, but I do use like the bigger containers of them. So I'm just gonna put in about 1 ounce of taco seasoning. And then I'm gonna put in 2 cups of crushed or lightly crushed Doritos. And I'm just gonna give that a good stir just to get everything mixed through properly, nice and even. My corn is a little bit frozen, so I'm just kind of trying to chop that up, make sure everything is gonna get cooked through properly. And then this is optional, but you can add in like diced olives or some black beans. Once everything is mixed through, I'm just going to take it off the heat here, and I'm going to add in 1 cup of sour cream, and then I'm going to add in about 2 cups of cheese, and I'm going to give that another good stir. And then once that's all stirred through to a 9x13 pan, I'm going to lightly spray it, and I'm just going to toss all of this mixture into my 9x13 pan. I'm going to make sure everything is nice and even on top, and then I'm going to put it in the oven at 350. I'm actually only going to put this in the oven for about 5 minutes just to kind of get it nice and warm, and then I'm going to put some Doritos on top of it, and you will see what I'm going to do here in a minute. It is going to look so good. I am so excited about it. Okay, so it's been cooking for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna add in another cup of crushed Doritos. They don't have to be as lightly crushed as they were in the mixture. I'm just going to kind of put this on top just to give it a nice even layer. And then I'm gonna put another cup of cheese on top of this. And then I'm actually gonna put this back in the oven for about another 10 minutes. You just wanna make sure that all the cheese is cooked through and that it's nice and melted and everything is nice and warm. And I absolutely loved this. My kids were devouring this. Of course, it has chips in it, so they're gonna love that. But me and my kids, we absolutely adore Tex-Mex. I know, I'm sorry, but we do. We love Tex-Mex, so this is right up our alley. It was so good and it was very filling, so we really, really enjoyed it. Okay, the last thing that we're gonna make is creamy tacos, and this is a family recipe. I got this recipe from my mother-in-law. She had made this meal for forever, but I have never seen anything like this on Pinterest or in any cookbook, so I hope this is something new for you guys. I am just gonna ground up 1 pound of ground beef. I'm going to make sure and drain off any of the excess grease. And it's kind of like tacos, so I'm just going to add in some taco seasoning. I put in about 1 ounce of taco seasoning. And I just want to make sure that the taco seasoning is really well combined with this ground beef before I start adding in anything else. So now that that's all well combined, I'm going to go ahead and you can either add in Rotels, or I have these petite tomatoes that I wanted to get rid of that were in my pantry. So I'm just going to mix that in, kind of get that juice cooked down. And then I know this is going to sound really weird, but I'm going to add in 1 can of this cheese soup, I guess you could call it. It's just like a cheese sauce. So you can add in, there's like a Fiesta Nacho one, there's just like a regular cheddar cheese one, but it's just a canned cheddar soup, and it's really, really good with this meal. Actually, you can actually add in queso if you want to add in just some queso. And then I'm going to add in 2 cans of beans. I have these chili beans and these kidney beans that I use. Most of the time I use Western beans or pinto beans, so it's kind of whatever type of beans that you prefer. And then I'm going to add in 1 cup of sour cream. And I'm just gonna give this a good stir, and that is it. That's all that there is to this meal. You're just going to basically wait for this to simmer, everything to get nice and warm, and then dinner is done. And you're just gonna serve this over some chips, or you can have it by itself. We usually have it with some chips, or you can kind of serve it like in a tortilla. It's just whatever that you prefer. I'm just going to show you how we do it in our house, and all the kids love it. Sometimes I make this a little spicy, so my daughter kind of doesn't like it when I make it extra spicy. And then I'm going to put some cheddar cheese or Fiesta cheese on top of that, and this is how you eat it. It is so fast, so easy. You guys have to try this.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you found some new recipes for you and your family. And if you enjoyed this content, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing down below. I have tons of other videos just like this, so go ahead and check it out after you're done. Thanks so much. Bye for now.